Lily Morgan walked into the clinic, her hand lightly resting on her growing belly. She had been looking forward to this day for weeks, yet a quiet tension lingered in her chest. The waiting room smelled faintly of antiseptic and flowers, a combination meant to soothe, but it did little to calm her racing thoughts. She glanced around at the other patients, all absorbed in their own worlds, while she tried to ignore the flutter of nerves that had settled deep inside her. Her husband, Alex Thompson, had driven her to the appointment, but he had to leave for work. Lily waved him goodbye at the door, forcing a smile, though the unease in her stomach refused to fade. She reminded herself that this was just a routine checkup, nothing more. The baby had been moving normally, she felt healthy, and everything should be fine. Yet, as she walked toward the reception desk, a strange sense of foreboding clung to her. "Lily Morgan, Dr. Kevin Miller will see you now," the nurse called, breaking her thoughts. Lily followed the nurse down the quiet hallway, the sound of her own footsteps echoing slightly. Dr. Miller's office was warm, well lit, with pictures of babies smiling on the walls. Lily's hand instinctively covered her belly as she sat on the examination table. Dr. Miller entered, a kind-looking man in his 40s, with soft eyes behind his glasses. "Hi, Lily. How are you feeling today?" he asked, his voice gentle, as if he could sense the nervous energy radiating from her. Lily smiled faintly. "I'm good, just a little anxious, I guess." He nodded, understanding. "That's completely normal. Let's take a look and see how things are going. Are you ready for the ultrasound?" Lily nodded and climbed onto the table. The cold gel on her stomach made her shiver slightly, and she gripped the sides of the table as the machine hummed to life. She tried to relax, reminding herself that this was something she had done before. But today, something felt different. The screen flickered, and soon a tiny, moving shape appeared. Lily's eyes filled with tears as she watched her baby kick and twist, each movement so small and yet so full of life. She smiled, feeling a wave of love wash over her. The fear she had carried seemed to lighten for a moment, replaced by awe and wonder. Dr. Miller's face, however, did not reflect the same lightness. His smile was polite but strained, and he leaned closer to examine the screen with a seriousness that made Lily's heart skip a beat. He adjusted the machine, squinting, his brow furrowing slightly. The room felt suddenly colder, the soft hum of the ultrasound machine louder, almost ominous. "Lily," Dr. Miller said, breaking the silence. His voice had changed, carrying a weight that made her stomach twist. "Can I ask you to sit up for a moment?" Lily obeyed, her pulse quickening. She perched on the edge of the table, her hands trembling slightly. "Is everything okay?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Dr. Miller took a deep breath, as if choosing his words carefully. "There's something I need to discuss with you. Something important. I need you to listen carefully." A chill ran down Lily's spine. She nodded, gripping the table tighter. Her mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. She wanted to ask what it was, but words seemed to catch in her throat. The baby moved again, tiny kicks that usually brought joy, but now they felt like whispers of uncertainty. Dr. Miller pulled up a chair and gestured for her to sit beside him. "Lily, I've seen a lot in my career, and I never want to alarm a patient without reason. But what I'm seeing here, it's rare, and it's serious. I need to explain what it could mean for you and the baby." Lily felt a lump in her throat. Her hands shook as she tried to steady her breathing. Fear and confusion swirled inside her. She had imagined this moment countless times, hoping for a routine checkup, a quick glance at the baby, and some reassurance. But now, that hope seemed to hang by a fragile thread. Dr. Miller's gaze softened, but the weight of the news he was about to deliver pressed heavily on the room. Lily clutched her belly, feeling the tiny kicks again, as if her baby knew the storm brewing in the room. The clinic, usually a place of routine and calm, now felt like the edge of something unknown, and Lily couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. The first part of her journey had begun, a journey of fear, uncertainty, and the faint, stubborn glimmer of hope that somehow, everything might turn out all right. Lily sat nervously on the edge of the examination table, her eyes fixed on the screen. The tiny figure of her baby moved gracefully, almost unaware of the adult fears swirling around it. She felt a surge of love and relief at first, but it was quickly overshadowed by a creeping sense of unease. Dr. Kevin Miller studied the monitor with a seriousness that made her stomach tighten. "Lily," he said softly, not taking his eyes off the screen. "I need you to focus for a moment. There's something unusual I need to show you." Lily's heart skipped a beat. "Unusual? What do you mean?" she asked, trying to mask the fear rising in her chest. Her voice trembled slightly. Dr. Miller adjusted the angle of the ultrasound, and the screen revealed a small, subtle abnormality. He explained it slowly, using words that made Lily feel as though the world had narrowed down to that tiny screen. The doctor's tone was careful, professional, yet filled with gravity. "I want to be honest with you," he continued. "From what I'm seeing, there could be a serious condition that may affect your baby's health. It's rare, but it's important that we consider all the possibilities." Lily's hands gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. Her mind raced, trying to understand what this could mean. She had prepared herself for normal news, maybe a small concern, but not this. Her breath hitched as panic threatened to overwhelm her. "Is it dangerous?" she whispered, barely audible. Dr. Miller looked at her with a mixture of compassion and concern. "It's difficult to say without further tests, but I believe you should be fully informed. There are options to consider, and some decisions might need to be made carefully." Lily felt her body go cold. She could barely comprehend his words, yet she knew her life was standing at a precipice. The baby on the screen moved again, tiny limbs stretching and bending, and for a fleeting moment, Lily allowed herself to hope that maybe everything would be fine. But the doctor's serious expression reminded her that hope alone would not carry her through this. She looked at Dr. Miller, searching for reassurance, for a clue that the world wasn't about to crumble. "What should I do?" she asked, her voice shaking. He took a deep breath and said, "Lily, I need you to listen carefully. This is delicate. You should discuss this with your husband, Alex, and consider your options. It may not be easy, but it's important to act thoughtfully." Lily's heart pounded in her ears. Her mind swirled with fear, confusion, and disbelief. She thought of Alex, the life they had built together, and how this news might shake the foundation of their relationship. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them back, determined to face whatever came next. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the gentle hum of the ultrasound machine. The baby moved again, a reminder of the fragile life she carried and the decisions looming ahead. Lily wrapped her hands around her belly, drawing courage from the small movements, from the innocent persistence of life growing inside her. Dr. Miller's eyes met hers. "I know this is shocking. I'm here to help guide you through the next steps. We'll schedule more tests to be sure, and I'll explain everything in detail. But I wanted you to know as soon as possible, so you can prepare yourself and your family." Lily nodded, swallowing hard. The weight of the revelation pressed down on her, yet beneath it all, a quiet determination began to form. She would face this challenge, no matter how difficult it became. She owed it to her baby, to herself, and to Alex. As she left the office, clutching the paper with the next appointments, Lily felt the storm of emotions crash over her: fear, sorrow, uncertainty, and a hint of resilience. The routine checkup she had anticipated had turned into a revelation that would change everything, and she knew that the path ahead would test her in ways she had never imagined. Lily sat back in her chair, the sterile office air feeling heavier than ever. Dr. Kevin Miller's words from the ultrasound still echoed in her mind. She had tried to process the revelation, to make sense of the fear and confusion, but nothing had prepared her for what came next. He looked at her with a mixture of hesitation and seriousness. "Lily, there's something else I need to discuss with you. It's difficult, and I want to be very careful in how I say this." His hands rested on the desk, fingers interlaced, a gesture that made her realize the gravity of the situation. Lily felt her stomach tighten. "What is it?" she asked softly, trying to steady her voice. Dr. Miller took a deep breath. "After seeing the ultrasound and reviewing your medical history, I feel I have to be honest. In my professional opinion, it might be safer for you and your baby to consider ending your marriage." His words hung in the air like a heavy fog, shocking Lily into silence. Her eyes widened, and her mouth opened, but no words came. She blinked rapidly, trying to understand if she had heard him correctly. Ending her marriage? For the health of her unborn child? It seemed impossible, unimaginable. I don't understand, she stammered. Are you saying Alex could? Her mind raced with questions and fears, trying to grasp the reality of what he was suggesting. Dr. Miller's voice was calm, measured. It's not about blame or fault. There's a rare condition that could have genetic implications. In cases like this, continuing the marriage could pose serious challenges for the baby's health. I know this is overwhelming, and I never want to scare a patient without reason, but I believe you need to consider all possibilities. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. Her hand went to her belly, feeling the tiny movements of her baby. How could the love of her life, the father of her child, suddenly become part of a difficult decision like this? Her mind flashed back to their wedding day, their shared dreams, the quiet nights spent planning a family. The thought of separating from Alex filled her with a painful, gnawing fear. Dr. Miller continued gently, I'm not asking for a decision right now. I just want you to understand the seriousness of the situation. You need time, support, and information. I'll provide you with all the resources you need to make the choice that's best for you and your child. Lily nodded slowly, though her thoughts were spinning. She felt like the ground beneath her had shifted, leaving her off balance, teetering on an emotional cliff. Every ounce of hope she had tried to hold on to now felt fragile and uncertain. As she left the clinic, clutching the papers and medical instructions, Lily felt a storm of emotions crash over her: shock, grief, fear, and a desperate need for answers. The world she thought she knew had changed in a single conversation. She had come for a routine checkup and was now facing a decision that seemed impossible. She walked slowly to her car, her hands trembling as she gripped the steering wheel. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the empty parking lot, and Lily felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her. How could she tell Alex? How could she even begin to process this herself? For the first time, she allowed herself to cry, the tears streaming freely down her face. She pressed her hand to her belly, whispering apologies and promises, hoping her baby could somehow understand that her mother was trying to be brave in a world that suddenly felt unpredictable and frightening. That night, Lily sat alone in her apartment, staring at the ultrasound images she had carried home. The tiny movements of her baby on the screen now felt like a fragile thread connecting her to hope, even in the midst of fear. She knew that the next steps would be some of the hardest of her life. She would have to gather courage, seek answers, and confront a truth that left her speechless, all while carrying the life of her child within her. Lily sat on the edge of her bed, the apartment quiet except for the faint ticking of the clock. The day's events kept replaying in her mind: Dr. Miller's serious expression, the words that seemed impossible to comprehend, and the ultrasound that had revealed more than she could handle. She hugged her knees, trying to hold herself together, but the fear and confusion gnawed at her from the inside. Her thoughts drifted to Alex. She thought about his laugh, the way he held her hand during hard times, and the quiet strength he always seemed to carry. How could she even begin to tell him about the doctor's suggestion? The idea of considering separation seemed cruel and wrong, yet the reality of the baby's health pressed on her mind like a heavy weight. Lily remembered the day they found out she was pregnant. Alex had been so overjoyed, his eyes shining with excitement. They had dreamed together, talked about names, nursery colors, and the first steps of a little life they were creating. Now, those dreams felt fragile, as if they could shatter with one wrong move. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her close friend, Megan Davis. "Hey, how are you feeling after your appointment?" Lily stared at the message, typing and deleting replies several times. Finally, she responded, asking if they could talk. Megan agreed to come over, and soon the familiar warmth of her friend's presence filled the apartment. "Lily, what happened? You sound worried," Megan said, sitting beside her on the couch. Lily took a deep breath, trying to hold back tears. "The ultrasound, the doctor, he said something I can't stop thinking about. He suggested that I should consider ending my marriage because of what he saw in the baby. I don't even know how to process it." Her voice broke, and she buried her face in her hands. Megan put a comforting arm around her. "Oh, Lily, I can't imagine how scary that must feel. But you're strong, And you have to think about what's best for you and your baby. You're not alone in this. Lily nodded, though the turmoil inside her didn't subside. She felt torn between love and responsibility, hope and fear. Every memory of Alex brought warmth, but the doctor's words cast a shadow over that happiness. She wondered if choosing to stay could put her baby at risk, or if leaving could break their hearts. The night stretched on as Lily reflected on her life. She thought of all the small moments with Alex, the quiet dinners, the weekend walks, the laughter over silly mistakes. How could she imagine those moments disappearing? Yet, she also thought of the baby, the tiny life depending entirely on her choices and the health she had to protect. Sleep came in fits and starts, each dream filled with fear and uncertainty. Lily woke with a heavy heart, the morning sun casting light on the decisions looming ahead. She knew she had to face reality, seek answers, and gather courage. The emotional struggle was far from over, but in that moment, Lily realized that the love she carried for her husband, for her child, and for herself would be her guiding light through the storm. The next morning, Lily woke with a sense of determination she hadn't felt since the doctor's office. The fear and confusion were still there, but now they were accompanied by a need to understand, to face the situation head-on. She couldn't make decisions based solely on panic, she had to know the truth. She called Dr. Miller's office and scheduled additional tests and a consultation. Each phone call felt like a small step toward clarity, though her heart pounded with every word spoken. When she arrived at the clinic, the sterile walls seemed less intimidating than before, almost welcoming in their quiet promise of answers. Dr. Miller greeted her warmly, sensing her tension. "Lily, I'm glad you came back. I know this is difficult, but we'll go through everything step by step." His calm presence reassured her, grounding her scattered thoughts. The tests began, and Lily sat in the waiting room, her hands folded over her belly. Each patient that walked by felt like a reminder of her uncertainty, but she focused on the small movements of her baby, seeking courage and hope from the life growing inside her. Hours later, Dr. Miller called her back to the consultation room. He showed her the test results in detail, explaining the medical aspects carefully and with empathy. Lily listened, absorbing every word, the weight in her chest slowly lifting as she realized the truth wasn't as dire as she had feared. "Lily," Dr. Miller said gently, "the condition we saw on the ultrasound is rare, but it's manageable with proper care. It does not necessarily mean that separation from Alex is required. I wanted to make sure you understood all the facts before making any decisions." Relief washed over her, mingled with lingering shock. Lily couldn't believe how close she had come to making a life-altering decision based on fear alone. She thanked Dr. Miller, her voice shaking but filled with gratitude. He reassured her that she was not alone and that she had support through every step of her pregnancy. Driving home, Lily felt a mix of emotions, relief, joy, and cautious optimism. She thought of Alex, eager to share the truth with him now that she understood it. The journey ahead would still have challenges, but she felt empowered, ready to face them together as a family. That evening, she sat quietly with her ultrasound images spread before her. The tiny, vibrant life she held inside was a source of strength, and Lily knew that with love, care, and honest communication, she and Alex could navigate whatever came next. The storm had not passed entirely, but now she could see a path forward, illuminated by the hard-won truth and the bond that connected her family. Lily sat on the couch, her fingers intertwined nervously as she waited for Alex to come home. The evening light streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow that contrasted with the nervous flutter in her stomach. She clutched the ultrasound images, each tiny figure a reminder of the journey they had been through. When Alex walked through the door, his face lit up with a smile that melted some of her tension. "Hey, how was your day?" he asked, setting down his bag. Lily took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Alex, I need to talk to you about the baby and what the doctor said." Her voice wavered, but she continued, sharing everything: the initial ultrasound, the doctor's shocking suggestion, the fears that had consumed her, and finally, the truth revealed by the tests. Alex listened in silence, his expression a mixture of shock, concern, and empathy. When she finished, he reached out and took her hand, holding it firmly. "Lily, I'm so glad you told me. I can't imagine how scared you've been. We'll get through this together, no matter what. I love you, and I love our baby. Tears filled Lily's eyes, a mixture of relief and gratitude. The fear that had seemed insurmountable melted slightly under the warmth of Alex's support. She realized that they were stronger together, that facing the unknown as a team gave them courage neither could find alone. In the days that followed, they prepared for the next appointments, educating themselves about the condition and learning how to care for their baby. Lily felt a sense of empowerment and clarity, the storm of fear giving way to cautious optimism. She knew challenges remained, but they faced them with honesty, love, and determination. Sitting quietly one evening, holding her belly, Lily whispered to the baby, "We're going to be okay. You have us, and we'll do everything to keep you safe and happy." The tiny kicks seemed to respond, a small, comforting reassurance that life was resilient and full of hope. Lily reflected on her journey, the fear, the uncertainty, and the shock of the doctor's initial request. What had seemed impossible at first had transformed into understanding, strength, and a deeper bond with Alex. She realized that sometimes the truth could be frightening, but it also had the power to bring clarity, healing, and unity. As she watched Alex laughing over something silly he had said, she felt a wave of peace wash over her. Life was unpredictable, but with love, honesty, and courage, they would face whatever came next together. The truth had left her speechless once, but now it had given her a voice, a path, and a renewed sense of hope for the future.